Coming up on this episode, we go from Birmingham to Belfast. An 800-mile round trip which took me through the heart of the Lake District and the charming town of Stranraer. It was a coffee-fueled trip and my trusty steed was a Luton van. I got the ferry from Scotland over to Ireland on the Stena line Superfast. First of all, welcome to the channel and let's go back to the beginning of the journey. The first leg of the journey was driving up the M6 for 150 miles to the Lake District. Let's skip 3 hours. Welcome to the Lake District. So we have around 153 miles left until we get to the hotel in Scotland, and I thought I'd just do a little detour along the way. This is basically the halfway point between the hotel and back in Birmingham, and as I love boats, I got my own one. Mine's slightly bigger than these ones though, so I thought I'd just take a little time to have a little look around. I've never been to the Lake District, and in total there are 16 lakes. The one that I stopped at was Lake Windermere, which is the largest lake in the UK. The Lake District as a whole is the largest national park within the UK, and it covers a total of 912 square miles. I parked next to the Waterhead Inn. It had EV parking and toilets if you're making the journey. There were a few pub restaurants / hotels in the area. A nice little ice cream store, and they had a few little shops which sold trinkets and treasures. There's all types of clothes, hats, souvenirs, artwork, badges, postcards, all in nice little cozy stores. Waterhead is next to Ambleside. One of the main reasons you might find yourself there is to get one of the cruise ships. Bowness on Windermere tends to be the biggest town with more options cruise ships, and on the middle of the coastline that's where you find the town. We've got a long drive, so let's get going. This is the town of Ambleside. Has a famous independent cinema, a museum, and is home to the Bridge House, which is a famous house and one of the most photographed buildings in the area. The reason it's famous is because the house is built over a river, and it was built over a river to avoid paying land tax. Originally it was meant to be an Apple store, and the doors open on either side so you can cross the river easily. At one point, a family of 8 people lived there. I continued the journey north towards Scotland. As I was driving along, I knew that I made the right choice to go the scenic route. If I went via the M6, it would have just been an hour shaved off the journey. But today I'm not in a hurry. I only need to get to the hotel. For me, that would be the second hotel of 3 this week. The first one was in Edinburgh. Lots of driving this week, but the gig I'm on is only weekends. The vehicle that I'm driving is the Luton van, and it's not very comfortable, and you can see the amount of cars overtaking. You got to be a little bit extra careful because you're a little bit longer. You can't take the corners as quick, so it's not as fun. But look at the fantastic view we got. I would have loved to go and discover the Lake District a lot more, and maybe I'll go and do a camping trip up there. Do some car camping, maybe take my paddleboard, who knows. I am trying to save up to buy my own van and convert it, so if you want to follow the journey on that, then please follow along. If you do enjoy this type of content, please let me know. A lot of my content at the moment has been fixing the car, as it's held together with duct tape and hope. As it's winter time, it got dark real quick. I rejoined the M6 and then went on an A road where the roads got smaller. How small? They're small. This is what a lot of the country lanes look like in the UK. These narrow hedgerows. I was hoping for 2 things. 1, no one coming the other way, and 2, no branches sticking out to scratch the side of the hire van, because otherwise I'd be working for free. 320 miles driven in a day, and I finally made it to the hotel. Welcome to hotel 2 of 3 this week. Earlier in the week I was in the Hilton for 3 nights, and then today I'm in a place called Torrs Warren, which is in the west coast of Scotland, where I'm going to get the ferry tomorrow. I don't usually head down to the bars or restaurants when I'm staying in the hotels, because I only really get about £15 food allowance, which is basically a starter these days. As I only had breakfast and a coffee throughout the day, I thought I'd go for food. Chicken for starter, chicken for main. They do have a restaurant, and I had breakfast in the morning there. As I checked out, I had some spare time to check out the town and let the adventure begin. One thing I noticed about the areas, they had quite a lot of palm trees. You always associate them with places like the Bahamas, holidays, white sandy beaches. Now, a little known fact about Scotland is that it does actually have very nice beaches in the north. I'd love to say I'm going out on my own boat sailing, but we're going via ferry, so we're kind of sailing but not really. Currently in Scotland, so the route that I went for was going via Scotland, which makes it a 2-hour ferry crossing rather than going via Liverpool and making it 8 hours. So we managed to stay in a nice lovely hotel yesterday. The town that I'm in is Stranraer, and it's in Scotland. You can see the little Scottish flag at the back of the boat just here, and it's cold. They say it's the hottest year on record, and I'm freezing my butt off right now. But let's go check out the town a little bit. Just behind me is Loch Ryan, and it opens up into the Irish Sea. In the distance here, you may be able to see one of the cruise ships. That looks like the Piano? P-L-N-O. As I headed towards the town, there was this really nice art piece depicting Loch Ryan. I was curious about the little yellow aeroplanes on the picture. They have an oyster festival there, and they pull out these planes and they do like light shows with them. The old harbour office has been converted into a tourist and information centre and community hub. It was built in the 1930s and the only surviving interwar industrial building in the town, and one of the few Art Deco buildings in the region. As I got into town, I came across this really fancy looking building, which was built in 1776 and was the old town hall. It's been repurposed as Strahena's museum. As I was pressed for time because of the ferry, I didn't have a chance to look inside. But looking through the window, it looked pretty interesting. What I enjoyed about the town was there was a lot of mum and pop stores still open. These stores were functional stores, so you could easily live in the town. Whether you needed to buy gifts or if you needed just to buy like the essentials like cutlery and kitchenware, this town had everything that you needed. You could tell they were family-owned stores, really looked after with their own personality and charm. As I reached the heart of the town, I came across the Castle of St. John. It was built in the 16th century, around the 1500s. In the 1670s, it was used as a military garrison by the government, and in the Victorian period, it was used as a jail. For those international viewers, the poppies are displayed for Remembrance Sunday, which is to commemorate the contribution of British and Commonwealth military and civil servicemen and women in the First and Second World War. It was a very nice display. Speaking of nice, the people were very friendly and kept talking to me. I did notice there was a lot of dog-friendly venues. As I headed back to the van, I came across this building. Initially, it reminded me of Greece with the turquoise windows and the white walls, but right next to it, that's what caught my eye. As I walked closer, it was a community garden with the entrance to the Loch Ryan coastal path. Turns out it was opened by Sir Alex Ferguson, who for almost 27 years managed Manchester United football team, which was 26 seasons, and is the most successful football manager of all time with 48 trophies. As I continued throughout the community garden, I noticed a more interesting feature in the back. Initially, when I seen the boat on its side, I thought, hey, who hasn't run aground? But it's really interesting how people have repurposed these type of things. And do you remember where I was saying about palm trees earlier? You have a few grown here. I was on the way to the van and I was a bit intrigued as I seen this in the distance, and I came over, and it's not exactly what you want to see when you're about to get on a ferry. So it's basically telling the story of the Princess Victoria, 133 lives of those lost. 23 were from here. Of all of the names of those people. Naturally, I'm quite the wanderer, so I ended up walking back a different way to the van and came across this really nice park. It had one of those little mini railways. The tracks looked pretty clean, but there was no trains in service on the day that I went. In the park, one of the features was this moat with a little island in the middle, and you cross the wooden bridge, and you come across this really cool little pirate ship, which is also run aground, but it's on sand, so it's okay. Can you guess what else is on the island? That's right, more palm trees. Headed back to the van and took to the road. It's just a 15-minute drive to the ferry port. There's two ferry ports, one for Stenaline, which is the one I'm getting, the other for P&O. I was pretty nervous about the crossing because I was in a hire van. I'd not done it before, and working for a marketing agency, I wasn't entirely convinced that they had all the correct documentation. My passport also includes a lot of Middle Eastern stamps, and usually when I go through airports, I get asked a lot of questions. So I was pretty nervous to get the ferry actually, so I came mega early, but yeah, everything went through. Literally just drove through the first kind of gate where they just checked the front cab, and then I got sent to the side just because of I got freight, so I ended up having to go to a different lane. So I'm in a 3.5 ton Luton van. And I got a promotional stand on the back, so I'm kind of like, am I freight? Am I not really freight? Because I'm not like a big truck or anything. But obviously that's the main reason I'm going to Ireland, is to do a job there. But I've just been in the cafe, went to use the bathroom, brush my teeth. You'd think somebody who lives in hotels most of the time would be quite on it with things like toothpaste and things. So last night I didn't actually brush my teeth, so I managed to go into the bathroom after buying some toothpaste. But yeah. Cheers, and yeah, let me show you the view. So here's my view for basically the next hour and a half, I think I'm here for. This is the port's lounge area, so you do have a microwave, you got the baby warming bottles, and you got plenty of chairs. There's a small cafe in there, but there's not that many power plugs. My last video was actually about the 2000 watt power station and what it can power, and I kind of wish that I had it now so I could plug my laptop in and do some work, because this van doesn't have any of those type of power plugs. It's just 12 volts. I mean, I can still watch my phone. I brought my little kind of mini USB power bank, so it's not all at loss, but I'm going to be waiting around here now for about an hour and a half, and then on the ferry, which is about 2-hour crossing. So I'm not sure what time I'm actually going to finish up and what's going to happen between. But yeah, that power bank is pretty good. I should have brought it. Kind of wanted to pack a bit light this time though, rather than bring in all the induction hob and everything, because I want to go and explore Belfast, which is why I brought you along with me today. A little while later, the ferry had arrived. First, they got to unload it. And then it was finally our time. For the larger vehicles, they pull them on the bottom layer, and there's another car parking layer just above us. It was just like driving into a service yard or a car park, and you have people to help you. While the boat's underway, you're not allowed to go back to your vehicle, so you must take things with you. And the doors are coloured and numbered. I was keen to explore the boat first before heading to the truckers' lounge. As I was booked in freight, they actually provided a meal for me. Exploring first was the wrong decision, and I'll explain later. Extra special welcome on board the Stena Superfast. And this episode, we're doing a Birmingham to Belfast trip. So I'm actually working the weekend, hence the trip abroad. But yeah, I'm super excited. We did a little bit of a detour and went via the Lake District, and then I stopped in a nice little hotel nearby the ferry port. But yeah, let me show you around. This is Loch Ryan, which opens up into the Irish Sea. We're about to depart, so it's due to depart at 3:30. The sea state looks pretty good, so I was pretty excited to get underway, but let's go check out the boat first. The boat's called the Stena Superfast 8. It's just over 200 metres long and it's 25 metres wide, and can carry 1,200 people and 661 cars and travel at 22 knots. For a 2-hour journey, there was a decent amount of things to do. When I'm making videos, I try not to film anybody because I don't have their permission. It's just out of common courtesy, really. It's not against the law, it's not against any rules. It's just something that I tried not to do, is get people in there. I was one of the first people on the boat, so I tried to run around as quick as I could, which actually cost me my meal, because for the truckers lounge, you got to go in there. They serve like one serving, and then they close it when you start casting off. So on that note, if you could like the video, that'd be great. There's plenty of space and lots of different chairs and areas that you can go to. Here's the coffee shop. On the left, you got the Stena Plus lounge, which I actually managed to sneak into. And being a little bit hungry, I used my hunter-gathering skills to steal a cookie. Along with a range of different types of seating, they had a lot of TVs throughout. The boat is pet friendly, and it has its own dedicated pet lounge, and it has a part of the deck available for pets to walk around on. I was getting a little bit hungry, so I headed to the truckers lounge for food. As it was my first time in this lounge, because I'd never done this before, somebody else booked all the tickets for me. I didn't realise that the food was taken away just shortly after casting off. I did speak to one of the crew members who offered to go downstairs to get some food for me, which was very nice of them. I declined the offer and went for trifle and biscuits were available on the side, and I did have a big breakfast to begin with. The truckers lounge has a little sleeping area. After nibbles, it was back to exploring. I came across the canteen area. There was quite a lot of power plugs throughout the ship. If you wanted to charge your laptop or phone or anything, it was pretty easy to do. They don't have USB ports, just regular power plugs. And here's a glimpse of the menu, so it's around £15 for a meal. As I walked around, I came across the store, which is kind of like the airport lounges, duty-free style, with fragrances and that type of thing. I did go in to try and get one of those little souvenir boats of Stenaline, but they don't sell them anymore, unfortunately. At the bow of the boat, or the front of the boat, you have the bar area. Now, I love drinking, and I do have a drink problem. It's called work, and it kind of gets in the way. So no beer for me, because I gotta drive. They do have cabins, along with a spa area on the top deck, along with the sun deck. So let's head outside. This is the sun deck, according to the sign on the door. The cast off, it says that we can go 22 knots. It seems pretty windy on the deck, but I don't know whether that's the boat speed or whether it's the actual wind itself, because you can't exactly see any white horses, let's say, which implies it's under force 4 for the wind. only lifeboat available. The entire boat fits 6 people, so that's why I'm standing by. No, I'm only joking. Let's go check out the other lifeboats. Heading to the back of the boat, or going astern, that's where you find 4 life rafts, 2 either side. I was kind of hypnotised by the wake of the boat that seemed to stretch for miles. And before you know it, we're pretty much there. I was getting a little bit excited and a little bit nervous at the same time. That's only because of the van's not mine, because it's on hire, and the Middle Eastern passport stamps that I have. It turned dark and the captain called for everybody to return to their vehicles. I made my way to deck 3 and found the red zone. I did initially go the wrong way first because you get a bit disorientated walking around, but I managed to find it. For me, that was pretty nerve-wracking. So a while ago I was on the way to build a stand in one of these vehicles, this style vehicle. A car spun out of control, hit a barrier on the motorway, ended up facing the wrong way, and then I stopped to go and help the guy, stopped the van about 7-8 meters behind it, and then a lorry hit the van flew forward. So basically I was ran over by one of these with the momentum of a lorry. Now I'm just walking past these very narrow gaps, so look, I mean, we are sandwiched in, but luckily I managed to find the vehicle pretty much straight away. So it's like a red, they have coloured doors, and I remember going 3 red. Originally I went to the other side, but now I was on this side, but it wasn't really a problem because I remembered. Now, I'm not absolutely gunning it off the ferry. I've sped up the video by 300%. When I drove off, I was expecting some kind of security checkpoint or something like that, but it was nothing like that. You literally just drive off. Now, I'm born and raised in the UK. I have a UK passport, and going from Scotland to Northern Ireland, it's still part of the UK, and I didn't need to show a passport despite getting on the ferry. I mean, I've been to countries where you need to show your driving license and passport like literally every 10 minutes, so it was quite confusing being in a situation. And you just casually just drive out and away you go. Now, the gig that I was doing in Ireland involves cooking, and I left the propane tank at home because I didn't really think that you were meant to take it on board. Off camera, I spent the next hour looking for propane gas. Most of the places only allowed you to swap an empty canister for a new one, but we'll skip ahead to the hotel. The third hotel of the week. It's a nice kind of setup actually. We've got the ironing board, iron, not like I'm going to use them anyway. Got a little safe for some reason. I don't have any money, so it's not my problem. We have the bathroom. Toilet, shower, no bath. Never mind. Dove soap. As we go along. Got a nice working area. Chair. Bed seems okay. Welcome to Belfast. So just checked in. Nice enough room. Just gonna charge everything up and then head off. But yeah, it definitely seems like we're on the wrong side of town. Just gonna have to check out to see how far Belfast actually is away from here. Let me just show you the view. If I can. Yeah. Excellent car park. I think the town is all the way over there. Okay, let's get charged up and go. Alright, walk-in time. So it's about 20-minute walk from the centre, and I'm definitely on the wrong side of town. A lot of stuff happening outside, but Scully Nomad is actually from the wrong side of town, so I'm alright. But yeah, I'd love to be in the summertime and a t-shirt. It's accompanied by Salt Rock, by the way. But while I was driving around, it was there was quite a lot of those little micro bars, so I'm going to try and find 3 of them. So fingers crossed on the way into town, and then yeah, be back. So my aim is to be back at 11 p.m. It's now 8 o'clock, so I've got a few hours. But I do have work tomorrow, and I obviously want to show up after travelling all this time. One of the most interesting things I found about Belfast was the amount of buildings that had full-on art pieces and work and memorials. I wasn't trying to find them out, I was just walking past them. A quick look online, you can find walking tours and taxi tours to go and see all the memorials and street art. A lot of them are political themed, as Ireland has a rich history. In Belfast there's around 20 miles of what they refer to as peace lines or peace walls, which are separation barriers. Originally they began construction in 1920s and then 30s in two areas, Sailortown and Ballymacarra. Following the Troubles in 1969 and civil unrest, they ramped up the production of these barriers. And you can see on screen one of the gates here. They were put in place to minimise the amount of conflict between the Catholics, who were mostly nationalist, and Protestants who identified as British. There's around 300 pieces of art like this in Belfast. Amongst all the art, you have high quality buildings with lots of detail on them. This is the Grand Opera House Theatre, and it opened in 1895. It has a capacity of 1,063 people. This is Belfast City Hall. In 1888, Queen Victoria granted Belfast the city status. The City Hall opened its doors in August 1906. You have a range of good-looking buildings next to it, which have stood the test of time. Many have been repurposed to be offices and shops. After my mini pub crawl, I ended up getting a coffee and heading back to the hotel. The bars I went to is the Jailhouse and the Morning Star just around the corner, but with high taxes and low pay, $6.50 a point's not really in budget. Ireland has never been on my travel list. Belfast hasn't even been on my radar, but now that I'm here, it's absolutely fantastic. I've loved every minute of it so far. With Sunday being an early morning start for the ferry, I decided not to go out drinking, but I did go for a walk on the evening. The guy I worked with the day before recommended me to go and check out the castle along the way to the ferry port. It was a little bit out of the way, but not too much. And I took his recommendation. I was up at 7 in the morning, had breakfast, and then set off for the castle. Welcome to Belfast Castle, which has over 100,000 visitors each year. It has a coffee shop inside and is available for wedding hire. It has a multi-purpose use with seasonal events. You have this really nice garden outside with a fountain as the main feature. Work began on the castle in 1867 and it was finally completed in 1870. It was constructed within a deer park and is made of sandstone, 120 metres above Belfast City. If you are heading to Belfast, it's definitely worth checking out. For me, it was time to hit the road. I left the castle and drove to the ferry port. The setup was the same as it was on the way here, where you get checked just before you go into the port. Just checked into the Belfast border port. Ferry leaves at 11:30, but I don't need to be here till 11:45, so I did have time actually to go around the castle a little bit. There's always time for coffee, so let's go check out the lounge and see what it has. Here's the view from the robot stairs or escalators, and you can just about see the van in the centre of the screen, and this is the port of Belfast. Inside there was a reasonable amount of seating, there was very limited power plugs, the seats were fairly comfortable, and the cafe had the usual sandwiches, muffins, those type of things, and it was £3.50 for a coffee. I grabbed the coffee and managed to get back in time to watch the cruise ship slowly come in, and then I messed up, so I followed this guy out, which is what I thought I was meant to do, only to be flagged down by security to tell me to stop, and then I had all these lovely people staring at me for a little while. There was no sign saying that was the lane for hazardous material or anything else, so I was a bit confused about the situation. But they still let me on and I followed the coaches in. It was the same procedure getting on the ferry as it was coming from the Scotland route. Just park up and head up. This time round I headed straight for the canteen and managed to get some food, so they gave me a Sunday lunch. The day finally brightened up a little bit. We set sail and we headed back to Scotland. Just leaving Belfast now. So I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being fans. The sea conditions were perfect for the cruise back. The food on board was very nice. Although the trip was mostly for work, I did manage to see a lot of Belfast while I was there, and I'd be happy to go back. As we came back into Loch Ryan, the weather was still very nice, considering it is winter. As we moored up, it was quite nice not slamming into the pontoon like I usually do, or when I'm on other people's boats. It was time to embark and head back to the van. The first part of the journey was quite nice, driving along Loch Ryan, and for the first couple of hours it was a nice journey, and then it was on to the M6, which is a long dull road, nothing like this sunset here. I would have liked to go back via the Lake District, however, because of time, I had to get back. After all, it's a 300-mile journey left from the ferry port back home. Then the following day I got to return the van back to Leeds, which is another 200-mile round trip. And with the 2-month campaign finishing, it's time for me to look for work. Thanks for liking the video if you have. Welcome if you do subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Let me know what you want to see. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being fans.